The first book I ever did was called The Millionaire Mentor. And people think I mentor millionaires, but I actually was working with inner city kids in San Diego. I'd be a little successful. I'd drive up in the Rolls Royce. The kids would say, "Here comes my millionaire mentor," and became a badge of honor. So much so that the President of the United States wrote a letter of commendation and changed my life and community. But when you write a book, you do something called a query letter. It says who you are, what's your message, why you're an expert, who's going to read your book. I was turned down 268 times in a row for my first book. The 269th person says, "We'll publish it for you. All we want you to do is change the title, the beginning, the middle, and the end part." It sucked. Trust me, I'm dyslexic. It was like dog, boat, beaver, but it made no sense. So I got a ghostwriter. They recrafted it, and one quote from this book was shared 37 million times. And you've seen this quote on bumper stickers and coffee mugs. You just didn't know it came from this book. It says, "A dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken into steps becomes a plan. And a plan backed by action makes your dreams come true." A famous quote shared all around the world from a book that was turned down 268 times in a row. The moral is, if I would have quit after 50 rejections or 80 or 112 or 215, 37 million people would not have been inspired by that quote. And how do we know someone that's sitting in this room isn't holding on their own brink of genius, but they're letting other people talk them out of what they know to be true? Would anyone like a free copy of this book? There you go. Hey, by the way, I hope you don't get hit in the head with this thing. And by the way, years ago at Secret Knock, one of my favorite claims to fame, we had a gentleman come. His name was Frank Shankowitz. He started a nonprofit called Make-A-Wish Foundation. You've all heard of that before, right? Grants wishes to terminally ill kids. He was up here on the stage. We're doing the interview, and I said, "Frank, I got to know." I go, "What was your wish?" And he looked at me like I had two heads. He goes, "What do you mean?" I says, "Well, you're the founder of Make-A-Wish. What'd you ask for?" He says, "No one ever asked me." I said, "What?" I go, "I want to be the guy that grants the wish of the founder of Make-A-Wish. What do you want?" And he says, "I just want my story to be told so my grandkids will know he did something." He signed over his life rights. I said, "Frank, I'm going to make this into a major feature film. Just know I've never made a feature film." And it took 6 years of trials and tribulations, but when it came out in 2019, we actually made the short list for the Oscars, and it's still trending worldwide right now. And it's called Wishman. And the moral is that everyone can be a hero. You do not need to be a billionaire or a celebrity to give a pair of socks to a homeless person. Everyone can stop a bully from being abusive. And it's the people that do that simple act of kindness can have a ripple effect to impact the lives of millions of people around the globe. Would you like a copy of this movie? There you go. Now, this little gem right here is my favorite one because it's the first big book I did. It's called Positive Impact. And if anyone wants this, you can come up and grab it. I did it with my mentor, Charlie Tremendous Jones. And he had a quote. He says that you are the same today as you'll be in 5 years, except for two things: the people you meet and the books you read. It's who you hang out with. It's what you put in your head that determines our character as a person. In high school, if we hung around smokers, we're a smoker. If we hung around jocks, we're a jock. Same thing applies today. If we hang around people and go home and they complain, gripe, moan, bitch about everything, that becomes the conversation that fills our mind. But if we hang around people that are positive and solution searching, then that too will become the conversation. And it's up to us to have the accountability and responsibility to surround ourselves with the people that can give us a positive state of mind rather than a negative one. The biggest thing that holds people back is a bad case of the one size. That means I'm going to take action once I get the kids out of the house, once I get the big break. And the greatest thing that holds most human beings back is their big butt. Not the one you're sitting on, but they say, "I'd go do that too." And it's that butt that holds us into our spot. And it's the people that can go through there by surrounding themselves with people that are already getting the results you want. You could do it too. Now, it's interesting about that. When I did my first book, I wanted to become a best-selling author. I went to Barnes & Noble, and I bought every book. Now, I didn't go to the best written book section because, again, I'm dyslexic. I went to the best-selling section. I asked every one of those to give me feedback, and they did. I just duplicated it, and here we are today. Unfortunately, most people get their information off Instagram, and they see someone talking about how great of a celebrity they are, but they haven't done anything. And that's why we've created Credible Source. The whole idea is imagine a circle, a sphere of influence, a part-time CEO and board of directors where you can ask people that have actually accomplished what you might be working on for guidance who've accomplished it. If you want to start a clothing line, here's the founder of the multi-billion-dollar brand UGG Boots. If you got an idea for a board game, here's the guy who did Pictionary. If we surround ourselves with people who are already doing what we want to do, duplicate it, your life could never be the same. This little gem we did is kind of cool. It's called Power of Proximity, and you're living it right now. Surrounding ourselves with the people, again, that you want to aspire to be around. You can come up and get this one. And this little gem right here, I just did. It's called Passport to Success. I did it with a hero mentor of mine. His name is Jim Stovall. He wrote a book and movie called The Ultimate Gift. Whoever wants this, you can come up and get it. Oh, sorry, this guy already got to it. And then this one right here, I want everyone to have a copy of it. It is called Success in Something Greater. Now, Success in Something Greater is the coolest little story because Napoleon Hill, when he, before he died, was supposed to write this book. And he never got a chance to because he passed away. And I interviewed amazing people along this journey. Everyone from the founders of Barefoot Wine to, some of the multi-gadillionaires that have changed our face and community. But one gentleman, I always tell this story because I find it fascinating, and his name was Fred. I'm going to use you as being Fred. I went to a mastermind group, and there's this older, stately gentleman. He was sitting there, and he looked like he did something good. And I said, Fred, what's your claim to fame? What'd you do? And he looked at me, and he said, oh, that's easy. I invented the jet ski. You ever seen one of those? And he turned around and he started talking to someone else. I said, hey, Fred. And he turned around and says, yeah. And I go, hey. I go, you must be a billionaire. That's a great, incredible brand. You must be proud of yourself. Because every time I'm driving down the freeway, I get one being pulled behind a pickup truck. I got to go, there goes my idea, and I'm all happy about it. And he turned around and started talking to someone. I go, Fred? He turned around and said, yeah. I go, well, you must be pretty wealthy. He says, no, not really. He goes, I sold the patent for $75,000 to Ski-Doo. Again, he turned around and I go, hey, Fred. And he turned around and says, yeah. And I go, that's got to kill you. That's got to eat you alive. He goes, no, not at all. It's one of the best decisions I ever made. And he turned around and started talking to someone. I said, hey, Fred. And he says, yeah. And I go, how can you say that? He says, no, you don't understand. He said, at that moment, in that second of time, that $75,000 was like winning the lottery. He goes, I was about to live the home that my family's been in for generations because the mortgage behind, I got it caught up. He goes, my employees, they were working for free because I didn't have the wherewithal. I got them caught up as well. He goes, I felt like king of the world in Titanic. And he goes, it was in the greatest experience because I found something called free time, something I wasn't even used to. He says, I went through the attic and I started digging around. And I found these little metal die-cast cars I played with as a child. A buddy of mine's in NASCAR, so I put his number on the side. And he goes, I gifted it to him. He said the other drivers wanted one too, so I started doing them for them as well. He says eventually NASCAR got pissed because I was doing them for all the drivers, and they came and bought the rights from me for $151 million. He says, as an entrepreneur, sometimes we need to do a deal in order to get us through to do another deal. This little gem right here, I want everyone, I'm going to be doing this at the book signing. It's called Wealth Made Easy. And I had a chance to sit down with Tonino Lamborghini all the way to some of the greatest minds of our generation. Anyone back here want a copy of it so I don't have to walk too far? But my favorite part of this thing was a story called CPC. If you're going to write anything down, this would be it. CPC. CPC stands for Clues, Patterns, and Choices. CPC, Clues, Patterns, Choices. It's about accountability and responsibility for everything that happens. It's your fault. Stop blaming other people for your own circumstances and misgivings. We are the person that put us in that circumstance, and it works like this. The first C is a clue. Now, I'm a single guy. I'm out on Bumble, and I go out on a first date, and this girl is awesome, but she shows up, and she's 20 minutes late. Anything could have happened, but she's late. That's the first C, which is what? But she's awesome. I really dig this gal. So I continue to date her, and every single time I pick her up, guess what? She's 20 minutes late. That forms a what? Now it's my C, my what? Whether I deal with it, I yell at her, I break up with her, I tell her a different time, but it's not her fault. She's just late. We have to stop trying to change people to fit into our own paradigm box. Here's a newsflash. No one wants to be changed. But how many times have we seen someone with a bad reputation in business? They cheat your best friend. You do business thinking, oh, it'll be different for me. And when things shit the bed, you're mad at the person. You saw the clue, you saw the pattern, but you made the choice. It'd be like seeing a rattlesnake rattle, bite your kid's sister. You pet the snake, get bit, and you're mad at the snake. Looking back in life, rarely will we be angry at relationships that failed or negotiations that fell through. We're mad at ourselves because we saw the clues, we saw the patterns, but we made our choices late. CPC.